has was there ever a turning point, in your 4 years here that you could point to and be like, this is what led us to become the team that we currently are right now?
The bubble. I think the bubble really kind of was like a fuel for us. Whether it's getting your body right, eating healthy, like studying film, running extra sprints, like whatever it may be, like we put that work in. And I think that's one thing I say we elevated to another level.
For the longest time, it felt as though Utah's natural place in the NBA world was to be that fun underdog team that we could all root for, especially when our own squads weren't playing. They had an underrated but likable core, a real ragtag group of characters that surrounded an unexpected but likable rising star. And then you got Rudy Gobert. This was a team that we could easily envision pulling off a first round upset, but never really saw any path to contention for. Even with the additions of Conley and Clarkson last season, it always felt as though they were a couple pieces away. Pieces that would be hard to attain in the small market city of Utah, but completely in line with all the other crazy stuff that has been happening in the league. They pushed through a heartbreaking loss in the postseason, ran it back with more or less the exact same squad, and are now running the tables, dominating teams on both the offensive and defensive ends en route to the league's best record. But their recent performance has contrasted heavily with their long-standing identity, leading to not just questions surrounding their status as a contender, but also legitimate questions surrounding what success itself even is in today's league. The loss to the Nuggets last year perfectly reaffirmed the general perception of the team, as well as underscored their underrated promise. They went into that series statistically one of, if not the best defensive team in the league, led by a Gobert who recently showed that not only could he shut down the paint, but he could shut down the entire league, surrounded by untraditional wing stoppers in Royce O Neal and Joe Ingles, as well as coached by a defensive-minded Quinn Snyder. They were simply a well-oiled machine on that end, capable of stifling any offense. Their own offense, though, was a completely different story. Even with their recent additions, Mitchell was by far their best scorer and often their best shot creator. Their game plan on that end was essentially give Mitchell the ball and move the heck out of the way. He answered the call and did his own part, dropping dang near 40 points each game. But at the end of the day, it was a system that could only work so well for so long. This season though, they completely flipped the script and are reaping the benefits. Conley, Clarkson, the whole team in general looks much more comfortable together in the system. The same exact team that looked one man deep offensively now has 8 different guys who can handle the ball, take you off the dribble, and shoot the 3. Every single person on their rotation, with the exceptions of Gobert and Favors, is shooting above 36% from beyond the arc. One of the main reasons they've been so deadly on offense, specifically pick and roll sets, where they consistently force defenses into lose-lose situations. If the defense tries to help off to prevent the drive, they get punished with a 3. And if they don't, they have to deal with 4 guys who at any given time can penetrate the defense further or facilitate, all while they're outnumbered. The sheer depth of their ball handlers create constant mismatches, and the ball moves without friction around the perimeter to attack it. Just beautiful basketball. Jordan Clarkson, who at this point in the season is the consensus 6th man of the year, is a constant threat to drop 30 on any given night. Bogdanovich himself puts up a quiet but efficient 20 ball every other game. And then you have Donovan Mitchell, one of the most explosive scorers in the league, as an option, not a necessity, that they can turn to when they need big buckets down the stretch. Mitchell's growth this season has been especially fascinating. After an historic playoff performance, many, including me, thought he would continue being their sole offensive option, carry that production into this season, and take a leap into superstardom in the process. But instead, his teammates have afforded him the space and opportunity to choose his spots on offense and grow as a passer. And it's not just growth in volume, but technique, skill, and efficiency. Hence is throwing cross-court passes strong enough to give viewers whiplash. With other ball handling and shooting threats, he's nearly doubled his potential assists per game. And it's this sudden offensive growth, plus their elite defense, that makes the Jazz the only team in the league who are top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. The Jazz have used this formula to beat teams such as the Clippers, Celtics, Bucks, and recently the Lakers, albeit without AD, en route to a league best 27-7 record. And the NBA world is still trying to wrap their head around this. Almost all conversation concerning the Jazz is limited to their status as contenders or pretenders. I know y'all notice how every single YouTube video, including this one to an extent, is commenting on this very question. My slant on all of this though is pretty simple. How could the Jazz possibly be frauds? How could they possibly not be contenders? We are essentially at the halfway point in the season, and they just haven't beaten teams. They are smoking them on a nightly basis. 23 or something out of their 27 wins so far have been by double digits. Their team so far has shown to be a perfect mix of the two systems that have won modern championships, 3-point and defensive proficiency. And they are subsequently 4th in offensive rating and 2nd in defensive rating. The raw numbers, advanced analytics, and even the eye test all say Utah is for real. The only thing they are missing is experience. And you can't see it, but I said that using air quotations. Because all that means is that we haven't seen them make a deep playoff run. But every team has to start from somewhere. Now, I still don't think they'll win a championship this year. They might not even make it to the conference finals. That says a lot more about the Western Conference than it does about them. I mean, for example, the Warriors, who are currently 8th in the West, will be 3rd in the East. Even if they happen to fall to the Clippers or something in the 2nd round, they wouldn't be frauds. The season would still be successful. Success in modern NBA discourse is now limited to ring counting. It doesn't matter how good an individual player or team was, if the season doesn't end with a ring on their finger, they're frauds. Now, in certain situations, this thinking is fine. Championships do separate the all-time greats from the momentarily good, and we shouldn't put empty stat players over winning ones. But this thinking has become intoxicated to the point where any and all conversation around teams and players starts and ends with how many rings though, often at the expense of quality, beautiful basketball. Now, I blame this on a number of things, the first being the GOAT debate, sensationalized media, and social media in general. Between Michael Jordan and the GOAT, both have this aura of dominance and excellence that didn't end with their individual play, but translated to championships and finals appearances. LeBron specifically has done a lot to alter our perception. His rise to greatness coincided with the growth of mass media. He was their first and most effective cash cow to date. And it's because of the insane money that is made through these types of discussions that the media will continue to promote ring culture. The technological improvements of recent have also given a voice and a platform to everyone and anyone. Apps like Twitter reward short, uncontextualized hot takes. Exactly why sports Twitter in general is flooded with this. And yeah, at the end of the day, no one looks at those and takes it seriously. But because of something sciencey this or sciencey that, it still has some sort of effect. Yeah. The best way for me to describe what success should be is to list some examples. For instance, and I say this next part as a Harden fan, but his tenure in Houston was nothing but successful. The 8 years he's been on that squad, they made the conference semis 3 times, the conference finals twice, and were a game away from dethroning the dynastic Warriors and possibly winning a chip. Yes, Harden has had his ups and downs. Yes, it didn't end with a championship. In the past 5 years, only the Warriors and LeBron have had a higher postseason winning percentage. Though at the same time, success isn't measured in a vacuum. Expectations and overall context plays a big part. It's the exact reason why the Bucks have been seen as underachievers. Top 5 player in Giannis, multiple finishes as the best regular season team, only to get sent home in the 2nd round. Exactly why the Clippers were seen as failures, and Knicks fans all over the nation partying as if they won the championship. How exactly this affects the Jazz and their general perception remains to be seen. But at this point in the season, any and all questions surrounding their contendership have been answered. And yeah, that is all I have for y'all today. If you like this video, make sure to like this video, comment down your thoughts below. And for the rare few that made it all the way to this point in the video, thank you so much, and until next time, stay safe.